Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
This video is going viral for two reasons. One being because people did not know that sharks made this breathing sound when they're attacking. The other reason is a shark jumping out of the water behind him is hilarious.
And why people feel the need to get in the ocean and swim around these things, I will never understand.
Did you guys hear the NBC nightly news? The Pentagon said that there is a potential mothership headed towards Earth.
Yeah, you told me about it.
He said it so casually. And he's like, we'll be right back after this. And it's like, what? All right, hold on. Listen to this.
Thanks. In 60 seconds, the news UFOs. The Pentagon's experts warning about a possible mothership coming close to Earth. Stay with us.
Stay with us.
Stay with us.
End on that.
Now our sponsor, Denny's. How you doing? Grand Slam. Like what? How's that so casual, nonchalant?
Like I feel like we just talked about the possibility of there being another species of whatever.
What does that mean, mothership?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my
but there's this thing that's been flying around, it's flown around Earth or close to Earth before, but it looks like a giant, like, rock-looking thing. This,
yeah.
But the way it flies through space almost defies physics.
Yeah.
Like it's not like completely going off of gravity. And so this one expert in the Pentagon or whatever is like, yeah, it's a mothership.
So they're talking about the Black Knight satellite. I'm not convinced that it's a mothership, but I do think it's some sort of alien technology, just simply based off the movements and stuff that it makes. There's no way that a rock floating around in our atmosphere would move the way that this thing does.
There's some missionaries, and I think it was in Ecuador, where they landed to this remote tribe and they got out on the beach, and the tribe was like, "Oh, you people came out of a flying bird?" And the people were like, yeah, nobody could talk, so it was all like hand gestures, and they were like, try on a t-shirt, and they like, it was pretty friendly. They even took the chief of the tribe up in the plane, and they did a round and brought him back down. Yeah, which like that might like hurt someone's brain if they've never seen a plane before. And the missionary's like, well, hold on. We have like cotton candy and we have photos from back home. Like, here's our family. And the tribes take one look at it. They look at the photo and they go, wait a second. I see human faces. There's nothing behind this. And the chief goes, guys, it's black magic. Kill everybody. And the tribe murders all of them right there. And so when the missionaries didn't come back, like a week later, they sent out a rescue mission, and there's just dead people all over the beach. And years later, like a decade later, when this tribe eventually was taught Spanish and they were sort of brought, roads reached them, and of course, whenever roads go into a rainforest, everybody gets domesticated.
Yeah.
But they were able to interview the same tribe people.
No way.
And they said, what were you thinking? And they said, how the hell are you supposed to know? They said, you showed us a picture. So we never saw a picture before. They said, yeah, they were flying around in a metal thing and showing us pictures. They said, we just assumed that they were devils. So we killed them just to be safe. They said, we were a little spooked.
That's insane.
And it was like a totally like natural move for them. They were just like, these people seem a little too friendly.
I think that's absolutely fascinating to hear a story of a tribe that had no contact with the outside world and how they would react if suddenly they came into contact with technology. And they reacted exactly how you would expect. They thought it was black magic. They thought this was something that they didn't need around them. You hear all these people making claims like if the general public knew what was really going on, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe there's some truth to that. I still feel like it's up to us to decide on what we can handle or not. I don't think that it should be up to the powers that be, but there may be some truth to it. We may react exactly how this tribe reacted whenever we see this alien technology and come face to face with the reality and realize that we are not here alone.
There's been so much science fiction that these are aliens that the debate becomes, no, it's impossible, they can't be aliens, or yes, they are aliens and that's it, right? But that is a debate based on our current understanding of science. If we had this debate back in the 1800s, there were these things called the airships, right? Nobody really understood what they were. And if you go back to biblical times, right, there were, the wheels, and there were all these weird flying chariots and things, and they didn't know what they are. But each time we try to interpret them based upon our current understanding of technology. Just like the metaphors I was talking about earlier in religions, the same happens with these kind of events, right? Chariots is the best way for people to explain something in the sky because that's a technology they understand. Right. So today, aliens is a way to explain UFOs because at least we, just like the planet Krypton, right? Right? It's past the 10-year-old test, right? Right. You can say aliens, whereas, back in the time of Kepler, who actually many consider to be the first science fiction writer, even though he came up with Kepler's laws of motion. He wrote some fiction about visitors and from other planets and stuff, right? Back then, it was so bizarre to talk about that it was just outside of, what people understood, but it was also outside of what the dominant institutions of the time, which was the church, right? During Galileo and Kepler's time, the church was the dominant institution. And so you didn't want to say things that are outside. What's happened now is we have science has become the dominant institution. And so people within academia, feel like they're constrained and they want to be careful in the same way that people were back then to talk about this weird stuff. And so I think when you get into some of these other explanations, it's more likely because the phenomenon has so many different aspects. So for example, I was talking with Whitley Strieber recently. I don't know if you've ever had him on.
No.
He wrote
I'm aware of Communion.
Communion, which, because Communion has had that gray head, alien head on the cover, it's become kind of the dominant thing. But he was talking about a story recently, which again sounds so bizarre, right? About a young man who, he talked about this on the air, so I can share it publicly. But he said there was a young man who claimed that he had met this young woman, and they got into a physical relationship, and then one day she calls him over to her house. Okay, and this sounds totally batshit crazy, and she says, "I'm a gray alien," and then she transforms into like a gray alien, and then she transforms back into the human, and then she says, "And I'm pregnant, with our child, and I'm going to take that child back to our people, and you're never going to see me again." Okay, so from our normal understanding of reality, that's just ridiculous, right?
Right.
In so many ways, right? But when I was looking at the stories from medieval times and in the Islamic traditions, there's actually almost identical stories of men who would meet these.
Man, Rogan has the best guests and some of the most intriguing conversations. If anyone knows who this guy is and what episode number this is, if you could drop it down in the comments and let me know, I'd love to listen to the whole thing. This is interesting, and it's the first that I've heard of someone relaying this story of them impregnating a possible gray alien and then it morphing in front of them and revealing itself. I've never heard of this before, but this guy apparently has heard it over and over and over again. And not only through old stories and stuff, but a first-hand account of someone that he knows personally. I think that's absolutely fascinating. And we've all heard the stories that they're here and they're able to blend in with us and disguise themselves. This lends a little evidence to that personally. I can't help but look at these as just stories, but I'm also hearing about this for the first time right now as I film the video. So it might take a little while for me to dig into this and do a little research and see if there's some validity to it and see if it seems real. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you like this kind of content, I make a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday. It will be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow to join me.
You ever wonder what kind of spiritual technology the rich, powerful, and elite organizations work on in secret? Those that have unlimited resources, time, and above-the-law leeway. Welcome to DARPA, the psychotic invasive branch of the Antichrist. Take 2. Top 5 bizarre spiritual technologies DARPA's working on. And don't worry, I won't mention the robots designed to consume biological material as fuel, or nanotech that's woven into clothing that's wash resistant, and can either monitor or send frequencies to. Take 3. Since Project Pandora in the 60s, which used microwave radiation to control human behavior, extreme efforts have gone to get inside of the human brain. And they've been working on neurotech, which is basically a brain interface with robots. This brain-machine interface is the beginning of the cyborg generation, or fallen angels in robot bodies like the Transformers type generation. Among other spiritual tech, here's a few more. Check out the Smart Dust, the world's smallest commercially available RFID chip. Been around for at least a decade.
Smart Dust. So what is Smart Dust? Well, general purpose computing, sensors, wireless networking, all bundled up into millimeter scale sensor modes, drifting in the air currents, flecks of computing power settling on your skin, ingested, monitoring you inside and out, and can be pulse powered by radio waves. It doesn't require a battery. You can literally scatter this stuff like dust or embed it into a sheet of paper. And you know what the really interesting thing about this technology is? This was commercially released 10 years ago, and you haven't really seen anything yet.
Or synthetic telepathy, which there's patents for. Sonic projector devices, meaning sound, V2K, which is known as voice to skull. Also, there's the realm of dream advertising, which also has patents and is something that happens. All these Antichrist mind control patents. Take 4. CRISPR super soldiers. Genetics technology plus processing and rituals to create invulnerable super soldiers. There's organisms that thrive on radioactivity, and there's already been experiments to insert some of these radioactive thriving organisms into humans, as well as animal-man hybrid type of science. Various traits include heightened senses, intolerance, gecko-like climbing grip, breathing underwater, etc. There's implantable nanobiosensors. The idea is having biosensors implanted in the bloodstream to be communicated with from outside of the body or off-site. using radio and EMF waves, scanning and reading biomarkers, probably monitoring everything. Probably straight on that one. And there's also the Avatar Project, which is basically uploading your consciousness. The alleged DARPA Avatar Project, a sentient world simulation run through a series of high-powered quantum computers. It has a digital twin of you inside of this quantum computer simulation. All for entertainment purposes, by the way. This is technology that can read thoughts in real time and feed them into the digital twin inside of the sim to predict your behavior and see it beforehand, as well as outcomes in the entire world. And also through the principle of quantum entanglement, they can also probably use it to put stuff in your mind. And don't worry, these are just a few. I didn't even mention shape-shifting programmable matter, flying boats, bullets that can be adjusted after being shot, digital tattoos, invisibility tech. If you think all this is crazy, this is only what they've admitted to. Hence the speculation at the intro, what's being done in secret. In close, it's always been about getting inside of the human body, inside of the human brain. That's what it's always all been about. The fusing of these fallen beings taking over humanity. DARPA with the Brain Initiative, Neurotech, Neuralink Science that Elon Musk is working on, and a slew of other agencies besides just DARPA. You see what time it is. If you research into it, you'll see that DARPA and CERN are both connected to the origin of the internet, and also where this technology comes from, and how humanity is being baited and led into these scenarios. Into the endgame where it's leading us all. The full-fledged Matrix. Been the plan this whole time. The computer, this big box shrunk down to the phone, was always meant to go inside of your body. Think Mark of the Beast. And hey, they don't call it the battlefield of the mind for no reason. Make sure you're wearing your helmet of salvation. See you next time.
That guy kind of gives the impression of a crazy, hyper-obsessed conspiracy theorist, but nothing he said seemed off-color to me. Everything that he's discussing, it's all stuff that I've heard about and that's been verified that's actually taken place, things they're actually legitimately working on right now. And I think that the scariest part of all of them is the smart dust, because they could spread that stuff anywhere. It's designed to be ingested and monitor your insides. There's no way that you can escape that. You can't even, I mean, what are you going to do to stop breathing? They can spread that stuff anywhere, and you're going to walk through it, and it's going to kick up off the ground, and you're going to breathe it in, and that's all she wrote. There's no getting away from it. So I think that's absolutely terrifying. And the implications of what something like that could do to your insides, we've already got microplastics and stuff that we have to deal with, these forever plastics that keep getting into our bodies, and there's no way for us to get them out. Now we're going to be putting metal into the body, these dust particle-sized computers into people. I mean, who thought this was a good idea?
So let's start from the very beginning. You say it's a 90-year cover-up.
Just about, yeah.
90 years?
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. And I think, last thing I'll say, that one of the reasons that we've had all these disclosures and all of these, 10 whistleblowers at this point, and it hasn't really become front page news. Part of it's suppression. You know, parts of the government don't want you to know about it, but part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out.
The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945, and you know the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
What is a demon? Right? I think most people would submit to you that a demon is some sort of supernatural being that is based in some sort of religious doctrine and is usually, malevolent to some degree.
Think what you will about Mr. Grush there. I don't really have the greatest opinion of him myself, but I would believe what he has to say before I believe what's coming out of the Catholic Church. And him talking about the U.S. hiding things and everything. We're working on a podcast right now on the Varginha, Brazil UFO incident. The U.S. government's got their hands all over it. They're absolutely hiding all kinds of stuff from us. My biggest frustration is this thing that we keep hearing over and over again. The American public can't handle it. The general population won't be able to process this information. That should be up to us to decide.
There's this article that came out 1934 in the LA Times. It was called Lizard People's Catacomb City Hunted Underneath Los Angeles, California.
Shut up.
Interesting.
This man named G. Warren Schufelt, and he had developed this X-ray penetrating technology to where he could scan different rocks and stuff. He was in LA on this hill called Fort Moore Hill, and he drilled like 200 something feet down, stuck it down. He's like, what the heck? There's tunnels and really big rooms and a lot of gold. He's like, what the heck is this? He was telling someone about it, and they're like, you need to come meet someone. So he went to Arizona and he met with little Chief Greenleaf. This Hopi elder said, what you just discovered is one of 3 lost cities along the Pacific coast. There was this people group called the Lizard People. They were called the Lizard People because their idol was a lizard. This Hopi was like, this was a civilization. He said they were so far advanced technology-wise that they had this chemical that they would use to basically bore out the tunnels. So they didn't use shovels and picks. He described the Lizard People's city being amongst these certain hills that exactly line up to where this guy found the thing.
Wow.
So this is the first that I'd heard of this, and of course I've heard of Lizard People, but I've never heard of this particular instance of them apparently living in California in these hills and the Native Americans being aware of them. I've heard so many tales from Native Americans about historically significant events that don't make any sense, like them remembering the days before the moon was installed. Things like that that sound crazy, but the details of the story make it sound like they're relaying something from memory. Does anyone know of a book or a documentary or anything like that that has a compilation of these Native American tales talking about specifically these types of events? If anyone's aware of that, please let me know down in the comment or tag me in a comment over in Discord and let me know, because this is something I would absolutely love to dig into.
I'm going to show you an 18-second recording which he has given me permission to use.
Oh, wow.
18 seconds, he drops into another language.
Has it been translated since?
Not translated, but I have given it to, and I can't even say the person who has somewhat validated it, because he didn't want to be on public record. He's a professor of ancient linguistics, but when he found out the context of where I got it from, he's like, career suicide. My name cannot go, because it's spiritual.
Yeah, right.
So I'll let you listen to it first.
Yeah, cool.
And just...
What the hell?
So I sent that to a particular professor of ancient linguistics, and I didn't tell him the context first. I just said, can you recognize this language? And he said, professional opinion or personal opinion? I said, both. He said, professionally, we have lost a lot of languages from ancient times, but it's definitely Mesopotamian.
Wow.
Right? Which is during that period of time. And then he says, but if I had to guess, it most resembles ancient Egyptian.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that happens to be the context of where he was. And right before when he dropped into this language, he mumbled something first. And I said, what was that? What did you just say? And then he mumbled something else in this other language. And I said, what language is that? And he just says, the first.
This is my favorite episode ever.
That was awesome. What language is that? The first? I just thought that was absolutely fascinating and wanted to throw it in here so that you all would get the opportunity to hear what the Egyptian language sounded like. That's so cool.
When I had a secret speech in Huntsville in the United States with the highest officers of NASA. Secret because we both parties, NASA and I, we agreed not to say anything about this speak in the public. At this speak, I was also speaking about Ezekiel, 5 minutes. And after it, we had dinner together. The highest NASA chief of construction came to me, Mr. Joe Blumrich, and he said, Eric, that was very interesting, but in the Bible, you will never find technology. These are visions, dreams, but definitely not technology. He even said, I never read Ezekiel, but now because of your speech, I will do it in the next weeks. Joseph Blumrich spoke 3 languages, so he took 3 different Bibles in different languages and started to read Ezekiel. Finally, he got astonished because Ezekiel was describing things which the NASA people, the engineers, had on their desk at that day. It was all before the moon landing. Every detail which Ezekiel described was already calculable and reachable. So Joseph Blumrich took Ezekiel by word, phrase by phrase. He wanted to know, what is this thing which Ezekiel described the splendorness of the highest. Only the object they wanted to reconstruct. And this was the result. Now, this is not the spaceship with which you could move from star to star. There must be a mother spaceship somewhere in orbit, and out of the mother spaceship, this small vehicle comes down. Ezekiel calls it the splendorness of the highest. On top of it, he saw something glittering. It was just the pilot's place. He describes the wheels which could go in every direction. He describes the wings which made a terrible noise. He even described when the wings stood still, they were hanging down. Soon as the noise started again, and he compares the noise with the thundering of a waterfall, then the wings went up again. When the wings left up from the earth, the wheels were left up too. Of course, when a helicopter is lifted up, the wheels are not staying on the ground. He comes into every detail concerning Ezekiel. At NASA, they reconstructed a new wheel. They separated the wheel from the wheel's central axis into different segments. Now each segment has an own axis, an own axle. Of course, with this wheel, you can go forward and backward, but you could move also towards you or away from you. With this wheel, you never make a steering movement. The wheel is always blocked. You can go in every direction, forward, backward, left and right, without moving the wheel. By the way, NASA has in the meantime a patent for this wheel, and the whole idea comes out of the Bible. If you are descendants of Ezekiel, you should maybe look for money. Now, when you read Ezekiel carefully, and I hope you will do this in the next days, you will realize that he describes the splendorness of the highest from chapter 1 to chapter 39. And then in chapter 40, something different appears. In chapter 40, he says that the splendorness of the highest came again. So a second time. And this time the hand of the Lord picked him up and brought him on a very, very high mountain. He doesn't know where they go. He has no name of the mountain. They say on a very, very high mountain. And underneath, Ezekiel saw something like a small or a big village or a small city. And in the center of the city, something like a big building, he describes like a temple. So this splendorness of the highest came to a standstill inside the building, which means the building can have no roofs. And then another being in glittering suits came to Ezekiel and says first, "You humans, you have eyes to see, but you see nothing. You have ears to hear, but you hear nothing." And all of a sudden, this glittering figure has something like a measuring device in his hands and orders Ezekiel to measure the whole building. And Ezekiel, in the meantime, he understands that this is not God. This is not an angel. So he has courage. He asks back, "Why? Why should I measure this building?" And the stranger says, "That's the reason why we brought you up here." So Ezekiel starts to measure length and large and every detail. Read it in the Bible. In the book of Ezekiel, you have pages of measurements of this building. In Germany, there is an engineer, his name is Hans-Herbert Bayer, and he wanted to know, are these measurings correct concerning the building? Is this a building or is it just fantasy, imagination? And he took exactly the measuring dates from the Bible, from Ezekiel, and started to recalculate and to redesign. One day, I didn't know him personally at that time, that's some 30 years ago. I had a thick yellow letter on my desk with different technical drawings and with the letter of this man. And he said, "I measured the building, and the building definitely was existing. And this is how it looked like." I was absolutely fascinated. And I said, "Have you ever heard something of the work of NASA? What they did in the United States?" The German engineer had no idea of what the Americans did. So I brought the two engineer groups together. And the splendorness of the highest fit exactly in detail into the reconstruction of the building. The building was never a temple. The building was simply, how to say this, it's a space station on Earth.
So this is a wild example, something I never thought I would actually hear, of NASA backwards engineering a craft from the Bible. This is absolutely mind-blowing to find out that this took place. And then you think about how Christianity is being attacked in this country. In their eyes, they must know and have faith that that something in that scripture is true, at least some aspect of it. Yet they still openly mock Christianity and God. They could only have nefarious purposes. This is what this tells me. They could only have nefarious purposes. They could only be up to no good.
So y'all know how we have the waters warming up like insane? Do you think this has anything to do with it? Maybe? In Florida right now, the water is 90 degrees right at Clearwater. It's May. That's crazy. We literally already have them watching 3 storms that could become hurricanes. Here they are, if you notice, where 2 of them are starting. It's because this devastating scenario I showed you guys a few days ago. Quick recap, Hurricane Katrina, now anomaly, mega anomaly. Now besides the anomaly that I've been talking about, I think it's worth looking into the undersea volcanoes because, for instance, Iceland is going freaking crazy now. And here's another shot of that. And so 2 days ago, we just had this anomaly pop up again on Venture Sky. I want you guys to notice this very, very straight line. A straight line signifies something not natural because there are no straight lines in nature. But you can see the wave currents going up into it, and you know what's right here. Funny enough, Venture Sky is actually going to completely remove this model. But why? Also at the same time, we have India's capital hits a record-breaking 126 Fahrenheit in May. Definitely could be a coincidence. But now with all these catastrophic storms going on in the US, it makes you think. Really makes you think. And what's making these underwater volcanoes go off more than usual, or in general, all these volcanoes? 2024 is a very weird time. Like I said, this year don't go towards the hurricane. If a hurricane's coming, go the opposite way. And if you see 2 hurricanes turn to 1 hurricane, run.
So I subscribe to this guy on TikTok and watch a lot of his content as I'm looking for these clips. A lot of his stuff doesn't make it into my videos because a lot of it is him making predictions for people and stuff like that, which I don't see any, I can't put any weight behind that. An individual predicting the future, I think, is just nonsense. But this, I feel like there's some validity to what he's saying because I watched the other video that he's talking about where he's referencing this map data and predicting that we're going to have a huge hurricane season. I'm no meteorologist, but it looks like he's onto something. It looks like we're about to get hit harder than we've ever even imagined.
Check this out, y'all. This is crazy. Look at what this truck driver recorded in Florida at 5:30 in the morning, y'all. 5:30 a.m. Why would you see anything else but a dark sky? Look at this, y'all. Why does it look like there's a sun coming through? Look, at 5:30 in the morning. Oh my goodness. What is that, y'all? It's not the moon, because the moon was not out that night, y'all. There's something going on in the skies, y'all. There is literally something going on in the skies, because why would you see anything but dark skies at night, especially at 5:30 in the morning? It's not the sun, because wouldn't the sun have to rise up? What the heck? And have you noticed lately the sky has not been dark? Have y'all noticed that? The sky is not dark at night anymore. It's like a white color. It's a light color, a light white color, y'all. Have y'all noticed that? It's been so bright at night.
That looks like the local sun on a flat earth got stuck in place. I don't have a clue what that is. Something is clearly sitting there shining some light down through the clouds, but if it's at 5:30 in the morning, I would say that depending on what area it's in, the sun may already be up. They could have some really dark clouds. This just happens to be the one spot where the sun's coming through. I'm trying to think logically on this, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that's what's going on. In fact, I don't think that is what's happening. I'm just trying to think through this thing. Yeah, I have no idea on this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. You think this is an actual UFO? I would expect to see it flying around and making some of these fast movements and stuff that we're used to, if that's what it was. But it seemed to be pretty stationary and didn't seem to be worried about anyone witnessing it. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Don't forget to come and join me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope everybody has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.